So our story kicks off in 2007 with a university student named Jiro. It's his birthday, and honestly, it's kind of a sad affair. He's doing the usual buying himself a gift at the mall, but then something totally unexpected happens. He spots this gorgeous girl at a clothing store wearing a really weird, shiny silver suit. She's just staring at him, smiling, and it's a little unsettling, but also kind of intriguing. She gets some new clothes, and then get this. She follows him out of the mall. Jiro's probably thinking, is this a dream? Am I getting pranked? He heads to his usual birthday spot, a noodle restaurant, because his grandma taught him that eating noodles on your birthday brings good luck and a long life. Super sweet, right? But before he can even enjoy his noodles, the mysterious girl shows up again and plops herself down at his table. She orders a ton of food, like she hasn't eaten in weeks. At another table, some students are celebrating a birthday by smashing cake in someone's face. This makes the girl blurt out that it's her birthday too. They congratulate each other, and Jiro just watches in shock as she devours every single dish, not even taking a breath. When the bill comes, it's huge, but she just says she'll take care of it and sends Jiro outside. Then she does the unthinkable. She runs without paying. Jiro's left speechless for a second before he starts running after her. They race through the city, stealing apples from a vendor's basket, because why not, right? Just as they're enjoying their stolen snacks, the waiter from the restaurant shows up with a cop. The chase is on again. They duck into a theater, quick thinking, and steal some costumes. The cop ends up chasing some confused actors while Jiro and the girl make a clean getaway. Eventually, they end up at Jiro's apartment. Once they're at Jiro's place, the girl throws a rock at his window and starts crying. She tells him that on that very balcony, a guy once kissed her, then told her he didn't like her anymore, that she ate too much, acted crazy, and never wanted to see her again. Jiro, being a good guy, assumes she's talking about someone who lived there before him, and he tries to calm her down. He takes her for a walk to help her feel better. As the night winds down, it's time for her to leave. She asks Jiro to close his eyes, saying she doesn't want him to see her go. But first, she gives him a cute little red keychain that she bought for herself. In return, Jiro gives her the anime figurine he bought for his own birthday gift. It's a really sweet exchange. As she starts to walk away, she drops a bombshell. She confesses she came from the future in a time machine. Just when she's far enough, she changes her mind and tells Jiro to open his eyes so he can see her smile. For some reason, this whole moment feels incredibly familiar to Jiro, like deja vu, and it makes him cry. He's probably thinking, what just happened to my quiet, lonely life? Fast forward 1 year to 2008. It's Jiro's birthday again, and he's back at the noodle restaurant, hoping against hope that he'll see her again. And guess what? In the middle of the city, a flash of lightning strikes, and there she is in her silver suit. But this time, she's not the same mischievous girl. Her movements are stiff, her eyes are glowing, and she's definitely acting different. As she walks down the street, 3 thugs try to mess with her. Big mistake. She instantly shows off her amazing powers. Super strength, super speed, and even sharp hair that she uses to kick their butts. It's like something out of a superhero movie. After asking one of the stunned thugs for the date, she heads to the mall and just takes shoes and clothes. When the clerks try to stop her, she uses a tasing vision to knock them out. A cop tries to catch her, but she just freezes and pretends to be a mannequin on display. Seriously, this girl is something else. She then grabs a cake and some flowers and rushes to the restaurant where Jiro is having his noodles, ready to surprise him. Jiro is thrilled to see her, but he quickly notices her stiff, awkward movements. Remembering how they saw the cake smash last year, the girl shoves Jiro's face right into his birthday cake. But before he can even complain, chaos erupts. One of the other diners turns out to be a crazy shooter who starts firing his weapon all over the restaurant. It's clear the girl was expecting this. She instantly shoves Jiro out of the way of the bullets, moves with incredible speed, and takes down the shooter. She throws the criminal out the window, and in a wild twist, he catches on fire from his own cigarette and some gasoline he was carrying. Talk about bad karma. After the mayhem, the girl takes Jiro back to his apartment, breaking the padlock to get in. Then, using her eyes like a projector, she plays a recording from a Jiro from 65 years in the future. And let me tell you, this future Jiro looks absolutely terrible. He explains that in his timeline, he was badly hurt by that shooter at the restaurant. But thanks to a lottery ticket he bought, he became rich. He spent all that money creating this Cyborg 103, modeled after the girl he met on his 20th birthday. She's programmed to become more human the more she learns and lives with him. Future Jiro sent her back in time to save this Jiro from the shooter and to protect him from an unspecified future disaster. It's a huge, heartbreaking sacrifice from an older, regretful Jiro. After the recording, Jiro, ever the curious one, asks 103 if she's capable of getting intimate. Her response? A swift tase. Message received, Jiro. He then introduces her to his pet iguana, Raoul, which she finds very peculiar. The next morning, Jiro wakes up to find 103 has, well, cooked Raoul for breakfast. Talk about misinterpreting peculiar. From then on, Jiro and 103 start living together. And let me tell you, life with a cyborg is never boring. When Jiro's late for class, she picks him up and super speeds him to the university. She even scares his teacher into not throwing chalk at students anymore. She's basically his personal bodyguard and problem solver. She goes everywhere with him, even when he hangs out with friends. She still eats a ton, which is funny, but trying alcohol turns out to be a bad idea. It makes her malfunction. Jiro works as a cashier at a fast food place, and 103 sits there constantly watching him and sometimes, hilariously, stealing food from customers. One afternoon, a kid walks into the street at the worst possible time, and Jiro almost witnesses a terrible accident. But 103 rushes out of the restaurant, using her super speed to save the child just in the nick of time. Life for Jiro becomes much, much better with 103 around. She records his classes, helps with any little problem, and instead of sleeping in a bed, she prefers to go into sleep mode, standing by the window, always on guard. In return, Jiro showers her with food, buys her lots of cute outfits, and tries to teach her how to have fun. He's teaching her to be human, and she's showing him what it means to be cared for. One morning, Jiro wakes up to find 103 covered in ash. He gets his answer when he turns on the news. A mysterious hero saved a bunch of kids from a fire. It's clear that 103 is constantly out there, protecting people, fulfilling her mission. Soon after, 103 asks Jiro to visit his hometown. Jiro is hesitant because his village was destroyed by an earthquake when he was young, and he thinks there's no point. But 103 insists, explaining that the old Jiro from the other timeline regretted never going back before he died. This makes Jiro think about how fragile life is, and he gets emotional, agreeing to go. 103 takes him on a bus ride where she does something funny. It's a movie. Go with it. And she makes him promise not to speak to anyone in the village. When they arrive, Jiro is absolutely stunned. His hometown is exactly as he remembers it, including the people. His friends are still kids, his elders are still alive. He finally understands. 103 has brought him back in time. He quietly enjoys the traditional festival, sees his younger self, and even spots his first Raoul, who was actually a cat back then. He also sees his grandmother, who raised him. Later in life, Jiro learned his grandmother was actually his mother, who had him later in life and pretended to be his grandmother to avoid scandal. Young Jiro is burying a time capsule, so present Jiro recovers it to find a family picture with a message from his younger self: become a great scientist. Thinking about messages from the future, Jiro asks 103 to tell his older self thank you when she returns. 103 agrees, but she looks incredibly sad and hesitant. At the end of their trip, 103 gives Jiro a piggyback ride, just like his grandmother used to. It's a sweet, tender moment. Jiro isn't sure if it's 103's cold back or the effects of time travel, but he feels sick when they return home and has to stay in the hospital for a while. 103 stays by his window, just like she does at home, and as Jiro watches her, a powerful realization hits him. He's falling in love with her. One morning, Jiro watches the news and sees 103 saving a group of teachers and students from a mad school shooter who took hostages. When she returns to his hospital room, Jiro hugs her, thanking her. It's then that 103 finally explains why she keeps saving people. The kid on the street, the fire, and this school shooter were all painful deaths that future Jiro had to witness. He asked 103 to save present Jiro from going through the same heartbreak. It's a truly selfless act born out of love and regret. That evening, back at his apartment, Jiro watches the stars with 103 on the balcony and kisses her. She doesn't mind, but she admits she doesn't feel anything. This makes Jiro angry, and he refuses her offer to try again. Later, when 103 is in sleep mode, Jiro apologizes, but he's clearly struggling. He knows he shouldn't expect human feelings from her, but he just wishes she could at least say she feels his heart. Living with 103 while being in love with her becomes incredibly frustrating for Jiro. So in a moment of emotional chaos, he decides to go dancing with another girl, hoping to make 103 jealous. This plan backfires spectacularly. A guy asks 103 to dance, and since she's so good at the robot, literally, she becomes the center of attention. Jiro ends up being the jealous one. Irritated, Jiro leaves the club with his dancing partner partner, telling her 103 is his bodyguard to explain why she's following them. When Jiro tries to kiss this new girl, she slaps him for being too forward. This triggers 103, who springs into action and throws the girl into a water fountain, explaining it's because she hit Jiro. Jiro, drunk and emotional, accuses 103 of being jealous. He throws up on the floor and then, in a moment of pure regret, tells 103 to stop following him. He says he's tired of how much she eats, how hard she hits, and that he doesn't like her anymore. He doesn't want to see her ever again. For his final goodbye, Jiro makes 103 close her eyes so he can leave without her knowing where. The next morning, Jiro instantly regrets everything he said. He blames it on the alcohol, but it's too late. 103 is gone. His life immediately becomes boring and lonely again. His teacher can bully him and no one protects him. He can't stop missing 103, especially when he notices the little details she left behind, like bringing Raoul the cat from the past, the one who was his first Raoul in his old hometown, so he could have a new pet. It's a subtle but really touching detail. Then a massive earthquake hits the city. As Jiro's building crumbles, he thinks he's going to die. But just in time, 103 appears. Jiro hugs her, expressing how much he's missed her, but there's no time for a reunion. The whole city is being destroyed, and they need to reach a safe place. As they run, 103 keeps Jiro safe, even pushing away a truck that almost runs them over. But when an entire building collapses, it's too much weight, even for 103. After pushing Jiro to safety, she's trapped under the debris. Jiro falls into a crater and barely clings to a broken pipe, trying to avoid falling to his death. 103 hears his pleas and makes a desperate decision. Since she can't get her whole body out, she breaks herself in two and drags her upper half through the ground to reach the crater. Miraculously, she still has enough strength to pull Jiro up and save him. But it's not over. Jiro needs to leave without her because it's too dangerous. Jiro refuses, but after finally admitting that she can indeed feel his heart, 103 pushes him away just as more debris falls on top of her. With no other choice, Jiro leaves, heartbroken. Sometime later, the area is secured and citizens are returning to salvage belongings. Jiro digs through the rubble until he finds what's left of 103. She's not working anymore, but he doesn't care. Just like the Jiro from the other timeline, this Jiro also wins the lottery, and he dedicates his entire life to rebuilding 103. 61 years later, Jiro is an old man, but in much better shape than his alternate self because he was never hurt by the shooter. He not only rebuilds 103 with all her memories and her ability to feel his heart, but he also builds 3 more cyborgs just like her. When Jiro finally dies of old age, 103 is sent to a museum. Years later, in 2133, the girl from the very beginning of the story sees 103 at the museum. She's confused why a random cyborg from 60 years ago looks exactly like her. When the museum holds an auction, she buys 103, who still has the red keychain that Jiro gave her. Then, the girl transfers 103's memories into her own mind. She learns everything that happened with Jiro, their adventures, his love, her own sacrifices. This makes her want to meet him, to experience it herself. So after buying a permission to time travel, the girl travels all the way back to 2007, explaining the very first birthday Jiro saw her. She wanted to meet him before the cyborg changed his life, to experience that initial connection. Seeing the city and the culture before the devastating earthquake is a huge shock for her, and it explains why she ordered so many dishes and stole apples. In her future, food isn't as delicious or plentiful. Spending time with Jiro makes the girl fall in love with him and sink deep into synchronization with 103's memories. This is why, on the balcony, she gets angry and throws rocks at Jiro's window. She's feeling the hurt of the time Jiro sent the cyborg away, saying he didn't like her anymore. When it's time for her to leave that first night, she makes Jiro close his eyes because she doesn't want him to see her cry. She also gives him the red keychain, bringing the gift chain full circle. As she leaves, she starts to realize that going back to the future would mean living in a time when Jiro is dead. So instead, she makes another choice. She travels to the day of the earthquake, finding Jiro clinging to the remains of 103. The girl decides to stay there, to live with Jiro, and to feel his heart, kicking off the start of a third timeline. It's an incredible, looping story of love, sacrifice, and the enduring power of connection, proving that sometimes destiny isn't set in stone. What do you think about this wild ride? Did any part of the time travel confuse you, or did it all make sense? Let me know in the comments.